Hi gals and guys, Mark here from Super 100 MPH. Look, I won't keep you long, but today's video is from the Berri Fruit Juice City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy Race from the 1983 Australian Grand Prix event. If you saw our previous video on the support races, you will have seen that we only got one lap of the Group E production car race, and we missed the first two laps of this race, like this.
Nigel Greenway, our lap scorer, advises me, and he's just coming around the bend now. Minute advantage, but Fury is very close behind. Then Masterton coming up next.
Funny things happen on video, but we decided to post it anyway. It's 40 laps long, and we've only missed the first two laps, and it's got some great vision from Race View, which was that periscope-like camera on the top of Jim Richards' BMW 635 CSI. They took some fantastic shots with that. So we pick up the action with Peter Brock in front, George Fury in hot pursuit, Steve Masterton and Larry Perkins not far behind in the Berri Fruit Juice City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy from 1983.
Minute advantage, but Fury is very close behind. Then Masterton coming up next.
50.18 the standing lap time.
Masterton just in front of Perkins, third and fourth, but these are the leading two. They've got 38 laps to go. Fury closing up for a fast exit from Glowweed corner. Let's see whether he can do something here. He showed last time he was just a bit faster. Fury likes to lead.
Brock drifts across to the inside just to cover the line, protect his line coming to the corner.
Well,
Fury pulls out wide. He's going to swing back in and try to go under, but he's not close enough.
they're starting to catch cars already. The car they're catching is the one that was stopped at the start. Which
he gave away 3 parts of a lap, Harrington. He only went out onto the circuit just as these cars were coming around to complete their first lap.
Well, whether they can catch him quickly or not remains to be seen. They have, in fact, got by him. I was going to say it could be a bit of a problem as far as the two, but he pulled out of the way. Fury is trying very hard, as you can see there, went much wider. He will try and go a little wider here, I think, to come through on the inside and try and get a quicker line through. He'll start accelerating from this point and come up very close behind Brock.
Flying lap time for Brock, 45.29.
Now, Fury, I would expect to maintain this for some distance and pull out to one side or the other. Depends which way Brock goes. Brock moves to the left-hand side of the track. So Fury will go on the inside. There he goes. But Brock just moves across, still has the length. Brakes after he got across and closed the line. So Fury has to be content with the line through that Brock is dictating. Both of them going through very cleanly. No sign of gravel pickup. Perfect line through the corner. Fury is quick down this part of the circuit. He likes this short but straight. Seems to suit the gearing and the characteristics of the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine.
Peter Brock, the man invited by Howard Marsden to spend the October weekend in Japan next year. I don't think he will somehow.
That happens to be the same time as the James Hardy 1000, doesn't it?
Yes, I think so. 45.01, the last lap for Peter Brock. Times inching down.
Their practice times, the best was 44.73 by George Fury. Always you'd expect practice times to be quicker than race times. Fury now just putting his car to the side to let Peter Brock know that he's around. I don't think there's any doubt that Brock is aware that he's somewhere in the vicinity. It's going to be a long race, and bear in mind that all the cars are required to make a compulsory pit stop. They've been told when they must come in between certain laps, and the first of them will come in from the 18th lap onwards. They're given a margin of 3 laps, 18, 19 or 20, the early lot. Some of them much later, up to lap 29.
44.8 now, the lap time for Brock. That is getting close to the pole-setting time.
Well, it was quicker than Peter Brock did in practice yesterday, so he is trying very hard. He has to go hard because he's got George Fury right on his tail. They're just drifting away from Steve Masterton, still running in third spot with Larry Perkins back in fourth, and then behind him, Jim Richards in the BMW and Warren Cullen in the Commodore, rounding off the top 6. Richards going well. One problem that Steve Masterton's car were following, by the way, one problem with the big BMW is gearing. They just aren't allowed to fit the gears that make the car go well around this circuit. There he is, carrying the onboard camera, projecting like a periscope. No wonder they nicknamed the car the U-boat.
There we go, down the back straight. Let's follow him round for a complete circuit here at Calder Raceway. Jim Richards at the wheel of the BMW will probably get some break up on some of these hard corners as the G-forces come into play on the car. It's difficult to keep track on the camera. There we go, just a little break up, but we'll stick with it. Coming around Glowweed corner and onto the top of the main straight. Now they open up. Larry Perkins up ahead of him. Jim Richards puts the foot down, past the start-finish line right now. Down towards Valvoline corner, on go the brakes. Changing down into the right-hander. A little more break up. No? Well, excellent. Thank you very much, Jim. Smooth ride. And once more down the General Credit Straight on the back of the Calder circuit, coming once more towards Qantas Corner. Into the short, sharp series of S-bends, 3XY corner into Glowweave corner.
And while we're travelling around with Jim Richards, we've seen Christine Gibson pull into the pits. Not a compulsory stop. She has some problem, gone into the Nissan pits very early on, with only 7 laps accounted for. Bad luck for Christine. She's in the pits just to the right as we go whipping by 3.5 litres of German thoroughbred. Warren Cullen in 5 litres of Australian car right behind. There's Warren pulling out in the Commodore trying to get by. And Jim Richards is going to have his hands full with the Melbourne businessman, who really is taking the Kmart round their car very, very quickly. Warren Cullen, who has really blossomed as a racing driver in recent months. A man who's been around for a while and maybe never taken as seriously as he deserved, but he's put in some tremendous efforts this year, and he's going very hard against Jim Richards. You can see they're catching some other cars. Is that...
No, I thought it was Larry Perkins,
so did I.
But it's not.
Oh, Cullen just putting the nose inside. That is so close to a touch. Richards saw him, despite being on the left-hand side of the car, kept the BMW just a little wider, and Cullen was able to hold out. Now it's just a straight-out dash down the straight. The BMW with his long legs, though, winds up and pulls away from the Commodore. Let's see what Cullen can do under braking and under cornering. Well, Richards went in hard and deep. Then Cullen has closed up just a little, but Richards has withdrawn just a little more.
And Christine Gibson's put the Pulsar away.
That's the view out the back of the car over the top of the roof. If you were close to the roof rack, that's the view you'd have if you were looking back.
Well, tail out there for Warren Cullen. That approximates the view that Jim Richards gets in the rearview mirror.
This is just a sensational view of the car. We have a new leader, by the way. We have a new leader. We have Fury just having gone past Peter Brock. So Fury now leads the race with 9 laps covered. This is a battle between the BMW of Jim Richards running back in 5th place and Warren Cullen, who's 6th. Richard pulling away down the straight, but Cullen closes up on the braking. Let's watch him again to see whether he hangs the tail out as he was before. They go sweeping around through Balvaline, now down the back straight, General Credit Straight towards Qantas Corner. Let's see how the Commodore flies around Qantas. Coming up towards it now, it's a bend to the right, so you're going back to front. I hope you're not feeling car sick back there. But hang on, here we go. Oh, our director is so kind here. He was frightened that we might be losing a few viewers. Cullen did close up then, Garry.
Yes, he seems to be able to close up in that situation, but on the straights, Richards seems to be able to open out the BMW and just creep away.
Well, at the other end of the straight, we have the battle for the lead, in which George Fury now has about 3 car lengths on Peter Brock, and halfway down the straight, this is a battle for 5th and 6th with Jim Richards in the BMW. You're travelling in.
And on the rear of the circuit, there we have the new race leader, George Fury, in the Nissan Bluebird with about 3 car lengths over Peter Brock, and they go down towards the back part of the circuit, and Fury having just taken over the race lead. This is the City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy. Fury the leader, Brock second, and we'll return to the action after this break. George Fury is the leader in the Berri Fruit Juices Touring Car Trophy over 40 laps here at Calder International Raceway. 27 laps remaining in the race, and he took over from Peter Brock just 3 or 4 laps ago. Brock still holding down second place, about 6-8 car lengths in arrears. There he is, coming into view down towards Valvoline Corner. Whilst we've been away, or whilst you've been away, so has Steve Masterton. He had to call into the pits, and that has cost him 3rd place. And in fact, Brock's teammate Larry Perkins in car 25 now holds down 3rd spot. Brock in 2nd place. In pursuit of Fury, there's Jim Richards in the JPS BMW. Garry Wilmington, no, Steve Masterton, I beg your pardon, right behind him. Masterton having lost valuable time in the pits. And again, we see from race view the periscope camera on top of the BMW as it comes around Glowweave Corner and onto the main straightaway again, and he's got a pretty vacant space in front of him. There's a long gap, in fact, between Jim Richards and 3rd place getter Larry Perkins.
One thing we can be sure of, Garry, is we're going to see the lap record broken in this race, because the times we've been recording are well under Peter Brock's existing lap record of 45.65.
Great shot there of Jim Richards in the left-hand drive. And there's Masterton right on his tail, trying to push up underneath. I think Masterton, in fact, is a lap down.
At least a lap, yes. He spent some time in the pits there with attention to the rear end. I just dashed down to try and find what it was, but the crew had run away with other things on their minds, so I didn't find out. All I did discover was that Christine Gibson has retired with overheating problems in the Pulsar Exa.
Masterton, in fact, is 3 laps down, so whilst he might be pushing Jim Richards hard at this point, he's a long way off being competitive in the race from here on.
Well, it's important for him, of course, to get back as high as he can. These are the leaders at the moment. But he's finding a lot of trouble in getting by Jim Richards. That BMW is fast. It is a heavy car. It's giving away 1.5 litres in engine size to the Commodores and 2 litres to the, a bit more, in fact, to the big Falcon of Masterton. It doesn't like the short straight so much. There's a lot of car to move quickly.
Masterton's persisting.
That's right. Well, Masterton has the advantage of acceleration. When the BMW gets wound up with this straight 6 fuel-injected 24-valve engine, it goes.
Richards in 4th spot, and the car you can see behind Masterton was Warren Cullen in 5th. But we're back with the leader, Fury.
Jim Keogh just being engulfed by the leading pair. Fury, then Brock, both slipped through. Brock very close behind, and Jim Keogh in the Toshiba Commodore staying on their tail, now 1 lap down. But bear in mind that every car in the race has to make a compulsory pit stop. We still have something like 4 laps to go before the first of them will be required to come in, change 2 wheels, and that of course puts an enormous load on the standard of the pit crew themselves. The Nissan men are winding themselves up for the wheel change for George, because half a second lost in the pits is more than the distance between these 2 cars out on the track, so they know they've got to go hard here to give themselves as much a margin as they can, and the crews know that they could well and truly lose the race in the pits. Quite an innovation this year's race. Bob Jane had the idea, I think, to try and emulate some of the excitement we've seen in Formula 1 racing this year, where so many of the turbocharged cars have to make pit stops because they can't survive without it.
First stop is coming up for Larry Perkins.
Well, Larry a bit early again. I suspect he may have problems. He wasn't due to come in until lap 18. In actual fact, yes, that's right on schedule then. Just on the 18 to go, and they're changing the wheels now. Let's see how long it takes.
Placings on the track in the meantime are Fury 1st, Brock 2nd, Jim Richards now in 3rd spot, Warren Cullen is in 5th place.
I'm sure that the whole dealer team brought Larry in first just to practice, to make sure they got it right. That was quick. That was quick. I had them in and out in just 13.9 seconds, and that's a quick pit stop. Now, of course, he also lost time in having to slow down to go into the pits and having to accelerate back on the track.
Well, he gets back onto the track, in fact, 1 lap down on the race leaders. He is, in fact, right behind...
and back in 8th place.
And in 8th place, yep.
Well, all the other cars, of course, still have to make their pit stop. Larry has it out of the way, and the whole dealer team know they can do it quickly.
On the main straight, side by side, Jim Richards and Steve Masterton going down in towards Valvoline Corner.
The Nissan team preparing for their pit stop. They might be calling George Fury in fairly early, 21 laps to go. That means they've covered 19. George can come in if need be, but Masterton is by.
Yes, he unfortunate that he lost those 3 laps in the pits. It was obviously a minor. This looks like Fury coming in.
They're ready for him, and Fury is in fact coming in. Here he comes now. You see how he loses time having to slow down to get into the rather extreme angled bend into the pits. Now he's coming to the pit. It is the very last stop in the pit area. On they go. Howard Marsden in the jumper at the front, just supervising things. 2 spare wheels. John Shepherd, how are things going?
They're going very quickly with this stop, and in fact these blokes have had these stops down to 12.8 seconds to change the wheels, and they're going very, very quickly indeed.
Not quite as quickly as they might like. I think 17 seconds.
Just on 17, yes. A little bit slower than the Holden dealer. His John, but still a pretty fast sort of stop, and they obviously are a very well-trained team.
So Peter Brock, in fact, is the leader on the track by virtue of that stop having been made by, hello, Rusty French is in his Commodore for his compulsory stop.
Changing the inside tyres, which is a little bit strange, seeing so much of the pressure on this circuit is on the other tyre. They can't get the jack off. Well, you've got to lower the car first. 15.5 seconds I timed Rusty French's stop, and he just got out before the Alpha, which had been in the...
Peter Barr, yeah. Almost took him with him.
He almost had an Italian trophy on the bonnet.
So, Peter Brock is in front. Jim Richards must be holding down 2nd place on the circuit. And Warren Cullen 3rd.
Right, we're in the confusing section of the race till all the cars come in for their compulsory stop. The race has 19 laps to go. We've covered 21, and cars will be coming in all the time from now on.
make things a little difficult for the teams in the pit area. He's going to make things a little difficult for us, keeping track of just who's where.
Well, Larry Perkins is just behind Peter Brock. Then he will be a lap down, of course. There's George Fury now trying to get by Steve Harrington, who, of course, lost time at the very start. Into the pit comes 29. That's Michael Freeman in the Gemini.
And Warren Cullen, third place getter, in fact, also coming into the pit area. So that results in another change. There's Warren Cullen. He was holding down fourth spot until he left the track. I have third spot, rather.
Stopwatch on him. The time so far is just on 7 seconds.
Great opportunity this to see in close up the pit crews at work. Brock's coming in as well. There he is.
Well, this is awkward for Brock. He got a very awkward bend having to go around Cullen's car. Just misses the wheel. That will have cost him a little bit of time. But let's see how the crew make out. They're probably the most practiced and professional team. Maybe they and the Nissan are the two strongest teams in racing. Off comes the front wheel.
There might be a traffic jam here if he and Cullen try to get out at the same time.
Could be
no, Cullen's gone. There he goes.
Mechanics will have to be careful. That is one of the hazards of this race when cars come at the same time. 18.45 seconds slower than the time taken for the first car, and largely accounted for by the fact that he had to come in at such an awkward angle to get around Warren Cullen, who was just behind him. That's just one of the breaks of the game, I suppose, but that was a slow stop for Peter, and he'll be cursing that. That cost him 6 seconds more than it should have. 6 seconds more than his teammate Larry Perkins took. And that is good news for George Fury, because 6 seconds on the track is going to be desperately hard to make up on this man.
In terms of places on the track at the moment, I think Jim Richards is in front.
And Fury is certainly in front of Brock. We saw the two of them just a moment ago. We'll try and pick the two of them up together and give you an accurate margin. Both have now been in for their pit stops.
Jim Richards now coming in for his.
Right, now that's the tight turn into the pit area. You have to find his pit. The crew have to indicate exactly where it is. The driver's got many things on his mind, apart from trying to see where the
Frank Gardner.
Yep. Bang.
Hold it there.
That's far enough. He's got all the jacks lined up. Frank has his stopwatch out. They're changing the inside tires as well. They can't be too concerned about wear on the outside. It's a 40-lap race, 40 miles roughly. A single nut holding the BMW wheels, just one tool, though it did require a bit of hand assistance to get it off. Down with the jack. 22 seconds. They won't be terribly happy with that time. John Shepherd there just watching, supervising. We'll begin.
Jim Richards rejoins the race. The race, a battle between Fury and Brock at this stage. We'll return to Calder International Raceway after this break. Soundwave Disco's Commodore car 34, Garry Rogers, is in third place on the track but has yet to make his pit stop, and the two cars in front of him are George Fury and Peter Brock, and they've made their stop, so they really are in position to fight out the finish of this race with 12 laps remaining.
For a while Rogers was leading the race after the pit stops of the earlier cars, and we thought, well, here's a man who maybe is in front for the first time for a long time. Garry, there's no doubt about his talent, but he hasn't led a race for a long time that I can recall, but now it looks as though he's heading into the pits, and Garry Rogers in 34 coming in to make his compulsory stop. He was one of the cars...
Hit the guardrail.
Yes, one of the cars required to make a...
he's lost the flare off the rear.
Yes, he just clipped it as he came in and swung the tail of the car around. And Rogers now, the stopwatch running on his stop here. Every car required to make a stop to change two wheels in this 40-lap race. The Berri Fruit Juice City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy. Again, his crew electing to change the inside wheels. Must be quite happy with the wear rate on the outside. The air-driven compressor jack just tightening up the fire. The last one goes through. The front wheel is right. The man waves his hand to indicate he's right. Garry is off. 28.3 seconds.
Steve Harrington in there too. Rogers passes him as he rejoins the circuit. And as he rejoins, Fury and Brock go past. So they've got a lap on it.
And they have 10 laps to go. Garry Rogers, one of the really top drivers in the country, not always recognised as much as he should be, I suspect. But
hasn't always had the backup, I don't think, to sustain the effort, to get the results that he deserves. For a man of his talent, he's been in the game for a long time and always gives 101%.
Always among the front drivers with Bathurst. And still a front runner here. Was leading the race for a while, and that was good to see. In the pits, meantime, another of the Commodores. This is Colin Campbell in the Bayswater wrecking entry of the Commodore. They're going to their compulsory pit stop.
The done quite well, haven't they, the way they've staggered the pit stops? I mean,
it's an entertaining idea, yes. So they've got them all coming in at different times, so in theory there should be no more than 3 cars in the pits at the one time, and they're staggered along the pit lane so they won't be all in the one area, and they're given their choice of 3 laps in which to come. Looks like Campbell getting some help from his friends there, changing the wheels. They've been in the pits a fair while, but I think they're in the race just to prove a point and to have a bit of fun, and they're doing that, and Campbell has been driving well.
Masterton goes through. The car behind him, in fact, is the race leader, George Fury, in 15, the Nissan Turbo Bluebird.
Masterton did qualify on the second row of the grid, but had trouble early on, came into the pits for some attention, lost 3 laps, so he's a long way back, but is showing out on the track that he still has the pace to run with the leaders.
Does that count as his compulsory pit stop? He wouldn't have to come in again, I
No,
don't.
just 1 stop is required. As long as he changed the tyres in that time, I think he'd be okay, but he shows there that the Falcon doesn't have the same pace as the turbocharged Bluebird. You know, there's no doubt that, or in my mind anyhow, that the Bluebird has probably been the outstanding car of the year in terms of the impact it's made on racing. George Fury for so long led the National Touring Car Championship, lost it eventually to Alan Moffat in the RX-7, but was the front runner for much of it. They had a disastrous Bathurst, and that of course being the major race of the year probably rankles with them, but they have done so well for so much of the year.
Well, they won 2 of the major lead-up races, the long-distance races before Bathurst.
And George Fury could well and truly take this one out. He is leading the race. He has Steve Masterton still very close behind him. In fact, they almost nudged there as Fury was forced to sprint a bit wide just to avoid Campbell, whose red Commodore is now back in the race after its compulsory stop, and a whole bunch of cars there. Masterton pulling to the inside, but that's the line that Fury wants to take, and he goes sweeping across on what will be the faster line through. Campbell having to elect to go in behind.
That's
Masterton.
Brock going through there too. He's in 2nd place. So
there'll only be a couple of seconds between Brock and the man he's trying to catch. Now he knows that Fury is not going to make any more pit stops, certainly none that are planned.
Brock moves up 1 place. He's only got Masterton between himself and Fury.
Well, Masterton may be a problem. Masterton is quick and the Falcon is broad, and it just depends where Peter strikes Steve Masterton and whether Masterton lets him through or whether he just decides to hold his own line. But that Falcon is a quick car, and as we saw from George Fury's attempts to get by, it takes a bit of passing.
6 laps to go for George Fury, and Peter Brock about 60 yards astern of him.
Well, Brock and some of the other drivers were saying even after Bathurst that they reckon that Alan Moffat and the peripheral ported fuel-injected 13B engine Mazda RX-7 will be the car to beat in touring car events next year. In fact, they reckon they won't catch him on most circuits, but maybe they'll have to add the turbocharged Bluebird to the list as well, because George Fury is going so well here on a track that really shouldn't suit him all that much. It's a short track. It's got short straights that require a lot of acceleration. It would tend to favour the big V8s rather than the turbocharged 4, but he's going so well. Former rally driver, former Australian champion, winner of the Southern Cross International Rally, Howard Marsden, had the foresight to put him into a race car to see how he went, and this is how well he's gone.
Well, he's about to try and put a lap on Jim Richards.
Well, not able to do it that time, but there's no doubt that he'll get by the BMW before long. It's black versus white, and white has the power at the moment. Let's see how they go down the back straight towards Qantas Corner. Being much lighter, Fury will probably brake a little later. That's the view you get from the roof, and that's the late braking of the light car. He just goes through, puts the brakes on at the last minute, carrying many kilograms less weight than the big BMW, so he can brake later, and there he goes.
Pictures coming to you out of Race View 7 Network Technology. That's part of what won the 7 Network the Penguin Award for the 82 James Hardy coverage at Bathurst, and the same sort of technology now being involved here in the Australian Grand Prix meeting coverage at Calder.
The order at the moment then, this man, George Fury, in the Nissan Bluebird Turbo, leading from Peter Brock in the Holden dealer team Commodore. There it is, about to pass Jim Richards' car. Let's see if he can get him by here. Warren Cullen should be coming home in 3rd place. Murray Carter up in 4th, but he still has to make a pit stop, I think, so that would be the reason
There goes
Murray
Peter Brock.
so well in the RX-7.
Just caught a glimpse of him going by. He went so quickly, in fact, that the camera could hardly keep up with him.
Brock uncharacteristically picking a bit of gravel there as he went on the faster line, but the reason he was there was he just passed the BMW and was offline for the corner. But here's the difference in power and speed. Just over 5 litres of Australian-made V8 versus 3.5 litres thoroughbred German fuel-injected 6. And while the BMW can keep up in ultimate speed, the V8 gets there just that much quicker. Richard's closing under braking though.
He's disappearing off the right edge of the screen. George Fury, the leader, has just 2.5 laps to go.
And here's the positions among the leaders. Warren Cullen in 3rd spot, Murray Carter up there in 4th, Larry Perkins 5th, Jim Richards in 6th spot.
and a lap down, in fact. Fury, race leader, coming around and will have 2 laps to go when he passes the start-finish line, and has done it well, courtesy of a great pit stop. Not the fastest they've ever done, but the Nissan team, cool, calm and collected, with Howard Marsden in charge. Had them in and out of the pits in, what, 14 seconds, was it?
And he was in front before then, so they can't say they won it just as well. There's Howard Marsden. Yes, he always seems very placid and urbane, but all sorts of thoughts must be going through his mind. He knows he only has now 2 minutes to wait to see whether they get the checkered flag, and some sort of compensation for their miserable luck at Bathurst, where gearbox troubles of all things put them out. But now the car running true to form, and they can look forward, I think, Garry, to a big season next year with this car.
It's ironic, wasn't it, that it was gearbox trouble at Bathurst. There's been a turbo problem that caused them grief at other stages of the season, and when they got to Bathurst they thought they had the turbo problem solved, and it was the gearbox. Here they come to get the last lap board. Fury's in front, well in front of Brock, by about 40-50 metres. Down to Balvaline corner.
2.21 seconds is the margin between the two cars, and if everything goes well for George Fury, he should take out the Berri Fruit Juices City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy. And what a victory that will be. Some sweet recompense for the disasters of Bathurst. And Peter Brock, victor at Bathurst for an unprecedented 6th time, will have to be content with 2nd spot. Brock has driven a great race, but Fury has been the master here today, and George Fury now 1 more corner, and then he could almost coast to the checkered flag with that 2-second margin. Around the bend he comes. Driven a perfect race, a quick fuel stop, quick pit stop rather. The checkered flag out for George Fury, and George Fury takes the Berri Fruit Juices City of Melbourne Touring Car Trophy. Peter Brock 2nd across the line. Warren Cullen will come home 3rd in another Commodore, car 22.
And what a great performance to fill 4th place. I think you'll find will be Murray Calder in the RX-7 after starting so far back on the grid. Yes, he is going to come through and take 4th spot. Here comes Cullen down towards the line now to take the checkered flag for 3rd.
Murray Carter coming over the line now. This is Murray Carter in the Valentine Cards RX-7, and that is a great result for Murray Carter.
A big performance. But George Fury, no doubt, the winner in car number 15, the turbo-powered Nissan Bluebird. 2nd placing 05, the dealer team Commodore Peter Brock, and in 3rd place Warren Cullen in car number 22, also a Commodore, after the touring car trophy race here at Calder International Raceway. There's more to come on the 7 Network after this break.
From the Home Entertainment Company, which sponsored the car that won the 1983 Australian GT Championship, here comes something completely different that will, without a shadow of a doubt, spread eagle the field in personal computers.
The John Sands Sega SC3000 personal computer makes its debut on Earth. Now there's no need to wait until tomorrow. Sega technology is here today. Sega is learning. Sega is music. Sega is incredible graphics. And Sega plays games like no other personal computer plays games. At around $300, you certainly don't have to wait until tomorrow. Sega is here today.
Back at Calder, a sports sedan event to come next, then the Australian Grand Prix. And while some of the sadder sides here are removed from the circuit for the start of the next event. John Shepherd, you were down in the pits for most of that race. What sort of impressions have you brought back with you of the efficiency of various teams?
Well, the efficiency of the teams was excellent. I had a fair bit of fear and trepidation down there because the blokes were actually, and as you're probably aware, that is still part of the race circuit, and the drivers are allowed to travel at racing speeds, and was necessary to keep pretty well on your toes. But
Colin Ashby's car we're looking at, by the way, is not on the toes so much as on the fence. I don't think he's done any damage. He just parked it there. We might just look at some of the incidents that happened during the race. Garry Rogers coming into the pits. Watch him just catch the fence. Or is it the rubber tyres? Yes, the tyres there, just like Dick Johnson. Only luckily for Garry, he was travelling about 130 kilometres an hour slower.
Just flicked him around and got him straight, I suppose, Evan. Probably saved him a tenth of a second.
It's a very awkward entrance to the pits here, isn't it, at Calder?
It is. They've made a point of doing it that way, and I think it's a good idea to slow blokes right down. But in this particular instance, there was a fair emphasis on the blokes going quick, so it was one of those double-edged swords, as they say.
Well, now, how about George Fury's victory in the Nissan Turbo?
A very interesting victory, and I guess fairly predictable in some senses, because the car being lighter is not as hard on brakes, and as we know, Calder is a very hard place on brakes. And speaking of George Fury, we cross now to Garry Wilkinson for the presentation.
Well, the Nissan racing team had wretched luck in the James Hardie 1000 at Bathurst this year, but in the Berri Fruit Juices Touring Car Trophy this afternoon, George Fury, I think that might have made up just a little for what happened at Bathurst, did it?
Yeah, it's just a little bit. This is our home track, of course, and we like it here, and the car goes very well here, so the boys have put a lot of work in it, but I think the car's quick here, and Rocky did well, but we're lucky to win, I suppose.
There's no need for a pit stop here. What sort of difference did the compulsory pit stop make?
Well, I don't know. I don't think Peter lost much more time than us in the pit stop. The gap seemed to be about 3 seconds after he came out as well, so and we kept that gap all the way through, so I don't think it made a lot of difference.
Made a lot of difference to commentators, I can tell you. Trying to keep track of who was in front and who'd been in and out of the pits wasn't easy. Mr. Andrew Ralph is here from Berri Fruit Juices, their national marketing manager, to make the presentation.
Congratulations, George. On behalf of Berri Fruit Juices, my company, I'd like to present you with the trophy for the magnificent effort today. Slight break with tradition, of course. It's normally champagne at this particular stage, but here we go with orange juice. At the same time, something to remember us by when you get home. Here's a basket of goodies. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm sure that without your help and the like of you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Eric Billing is here from Dunlop. There's also a presentation to be made for the first car home on Dunlop tyres. I don't even know who that was. Who was that?
That was George.
Oh, George. Yeah.
What else would he use but Dunlop? Congratulations, George. Great drive, and please accept that with our compliments.
Thanks very much, and thanks to Dunlop. They've got a bit of competition now, but they're still the best.
Don't go away, because we haven't finished yet. Keith Marshall is here from John Sands.
George, congratulations, a great drive. I know you had to drive hard because Peter really wanted one of our computers. On behalf of John Sands, this will help you to keep count of the laps.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Howard Marsden is forever extolling the virtues of the Nissan Bluebird. I don't know whether the boot's big enough to get all this stuff in, is it?
It's got a couple of computers in it already, actually.
Is that right? Well, I hope you can put that one to good use as well. The Berri Fruit Juices Touring Car Trophy has been run and won by the Nissan Bluebird, driven by George Fury, and we've got lots more action, of course, to come at Calder International Raceway this afternoon, including the Australian Grand Prix.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end, guys. George Fury wins another one, with Peter Brock not far behind. But the curious thing is that in all the literature or documentation I could find about this race, it says that Larry Perkins came third, where what we just saw was Warren Cullen coming third. So I'm not sure about that. If you have any ideas, don't hesitate to let us know. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And until next time.